The Sonic the Hedgehog series is home to the best soundtracks in gaming. They consistently deliver even when the games themselves don't. Some OSTs literally don't miss, while others are slightly spottier, but still have a couple absolute bangers. Today, we're gonna look at every soundtrack in the main Sonic series and rank them from worthless to elite. The first Sonic the Hedgehog game doesn't have a whole lot of music, but the tracks that are here fit the environments they play in really well. They all have a retro chiptune sound to them and are so freaking iconic. Songs like Starlight Zone and Green Hill are jam-packed with nostalgia and good vibes, and even though Labyrinth Zone fills me with anxiety, I don't even hate that track. Compared to other video game soundtracks, this is top tier, but since this list is ranking Sonic soundtracks, it's pretty mid for the series, even though it's still objectively really good. Sonic 2 picks up in quantity from the first game, and somehow quality. Each piece is even more energetic, and captures the feeling of the area way better, with more tonal range. The creepy mystic caves feel unsettling and wonky, and bouncing around the flashy, saturated casino has an even cooler, sleeker vibe. Every tune is super catchy too, even more so than the first game, so if you liked that one, you'll love this one. It's very hard to take off repeat. Sonic CD has a stranger overall vibe compared to the previous games, but the music's able to capture that incredibly well. With each stage having multiple forms reflecting the past, present, and possible futures, the same song has to shift in different ways to convey that new atmosphere, and it does that surprisingly well. It's able to capture the more natural, primal sound of the past, the more upbeat and electric sounds of the good future, and the helpless and dystopian sound of the bad future. The boss music in particular is terrifying, but if that's what they were going for, damn does it work. It's also got the first Sonic vocal themes. There's Believe in Yourself that plays at the end of the game, and Either You Can Do Anything or Sonic Boom for the game's opening cutscene, and they all sound pretty nice, but Sonic Boom is extra freaking stellar. I thought it'd be more of an average Sonic soundtrack, but after revisiting it, it's a lot better than I remember it being, and is much more ambitious than the other classic OSTs. I'm putting it on the same level as Sonic 2. Sonic 3 and Knuckles has the best soundtrack on the Genesis, without question. With more focus on exploration than previous games, Sonic 3's music works even harder to immerse the player, and it does so really well with its lineup of fresh, adventurous tracks. And I know it's common knowledge now, but Michael Jackson himself actually had a hand in creating music for this game, which is how it captures that jazzy, funky 90s feel so well. I don't think there's much of a debate here. This one stands out from the rest in the best possible way and earns a spot up in Elite. Sonic 3D Blast has both a Genesis version and a Sega Saturn version, and apparently they're completely different soundtracks. I'm more familiar with the Genesis one, which blends in more with the other classic Sonic games, and still has that retro, eccentric sound to it. It's a step back compared to the last couple games, but still on par with the original Sonic game. The Saturn version, on the other hand, is still quite good, but it tries to be a bit more laid back and build a chill ambiance, which it does well, but isn't what I've come to expect or want from a Sonic game. It's the weakest so far, but even still, there's a couple really solid bangers, so this tier works great. I've said it before, but I think the Sonic Adventure soundtrack is objectively the best in the entire series, which says a lot. Each playable character gets their own vocal theme, and these all sound fantastic. They're super uplifting and encouraging, while rocking a phenomenally catchy beat. I don't think there's a single song here that doesn't sound amazing. I genuinely don't. The whole OST is overflowing with raw attitude and passion. Outside of the vocal themes, you got Skydeck, Red Mountain, Twinkle Park, the f***ing Ice Cap music. It all pumps you up, no matter how you're feeling. This is the Sonic soundtrack, and makes even the other elites look pedestrian. If the first adventure game is the gold standard, this one comes about as close as possible to living up to it. To start, it's got the greatest and most iconic vocal theme in the series, Live and Learn, and the moment it plays in is cinema. And with Sonic Movie 3, literal cinema. And like the last game, all the characters get themes too, and they're pretty comparably strong. Each character also has level music that's more tailored to them. Sonic's is high energy and exciting, Shadow's are still fast but in a darker, more edgy way, and Knuckles gets rap music to match his I don't give a f*** mentality. Highlights here are Pumpkin Hill, Meteor Herd, Metal Harbor, City Escape, the kart music, Mission Street, Final Rush, Radical Highway, the list goes on, and without question deserves Elite tier. I'm grouping the Sonic Advance trilogy together because they have a pretty similar vibe, and I can't tell which songs are from which game. Now, I know these had less to work with in terms of audio quality, but that doesn't make it sound any less compressed and flat, which makes listening to it today not as appealing as just about any other Sonic soundtrack. If the rhythms were exceptional, I'd reconsider, but they're really nothing memorable besides maybe a track here and there. It's not awful, but for Sonic standards, it's as worthless as it gets. Sonic Heroes is super strong in the music department. The song that shares a name with the game is S tier, and What I'm Made Of is such a fucking hype song, it's not even funny. I added that shit to my workout playlist, it fires me up. And stage themes are equally really good. This might be a more forgettable entry in the series, but so many of these live rent-free in my head, even if I can't remember the actual level they're from. I think that says a lot about how great this OST is. I can't stop listening to it. Shadow the Hedgehog is the polar opposite of Heroes. Where that game has a lot more bubbly and happy music, this game replicates that adventure rock sound and adds a bit more angst. And where Heroes has a lot of really recognizable tracks, I remember almost none of these, but after going back and listening to it, I realized there's some great beats in there, but they don't stick as much. That's fine though, because for a game focused on Shadow, this fits the role perfectly, and is still a very good overall soundtrack. Sonic Rush's music has a ton of identity. It somehow sounds even faster than other Sonic music, and has a very distinct, electrifying sound. It's so lively and funky, how did they make this work on the Nintendo DS? I don't think it can quite hold its own with the Elites, but I'm down to give it a listen on almost any occasion. Sonic 06 is a very divisive game that people can't seem to agree on. Some absolutely hate it, some love it, and some love to hate it, but just about everyone agrees on one thing. The music is fire. Radical Train, Flame Core, Soliana New City, Soliana Castletown, Crisis City, Kingdom Valley, the track list is star-studded and captures the essence of the locales perfectly. And all three vocal themes are outstanding. They absolutely nail each Hedgehog's vibe and deserve a spot in anyone's road trip playlist. It lives up to and might even surpass the adventure soundtracks in a lot of ways, so take note. This might be one of the only times you see Sonic 06 unironically get put in the elite category for something. Sonic and the Secret Rings is a completely different feeling Sonic game, and the music reflects that adjustment, for better and for worse. There's a lot more vocals than I'm used to, which isn't inherently bad, but that's mixed with these weird noises to make it sound more Arabian, I guess, and it comes across as pretty odd. I think it fits the game, but on its own, it sounds weird, and doesn't fit with the rest of these OSTs at all, but there's still a few decent tunes. Rush Adventure loses a lot of the personality that original game had, and instead goes for a more laid-back, islandy vibe that works for this game, but isn't super replayable. There's some standouts here and there, but it's overall lacking compared to the rest of this series. Sonic Unleashed goes for a grand feel in just about every way, with the cinematography, the scale of the story, and of course, the music. It's the first Sonic game to feature music performed by a live orchestra, and it's immediately apparent. It sounds so full and melodic. It's a masterpiece of a soundtrack through and through. With the game being a globetrotting adventure, it captures the musical personality of every location it tries to emulate. They all get a fast-paced, adrenaline-heavy daytime mix, a darker, slower nighttime mix, and a peaceful hub world track, which gives further depth and variety to each distinct geographical region. It's absolutely beautiful, and another all too easy. Sonic and the Black Knight soundtrack follows in the footsteps of the Secret Rings and goes for a more unconventional sound, but this time it works a lot better. It has a grittier sound than most Sonic music and captures the fantasy medieval tone of the game remarkably well. It also has some of Crush 40's best songs to date, with Night of the Wind being the highlight as way too over the top and f***ing rad. I think it's the perfect selection of songs for this game, but if I'm being honest, I wouldn't go out of my way to listen to anything outside of a playthrough, so I can't give it Can't Stop Listening tier, because I can, so I'll put it on the same level as Shadow the Hedgehog, but it's definitely on the higher end. Sonic 4 Episode 1 does not have a good reason to sound this forgettable and generic. It doesn't blend in with the classic games it's trying so hard to follow up, and it doesn't have the attitude of the modern stuff either. It feels soulless and lackluster. Same with the second episode. It's like the composers were making songs to fit any ordinary platforming game, and for Sonic, both of these are worthless. Sonic Colors as a game feels pretty safe, but the music is anything but. Taking place in an amusement park up in space, the environments you're running through are super cool, and the music is very atmospheric and uplifting. Planet Wisp is probably the best example. Despite the stage having clashing ideas with lush natural greenery and Eggman's toxic machinery, they somehow capture the full essence in one piece of music. And the vocal theme Reach for the Stars is so positive and feel-good that it quickly became one of my favorites. I don't think it's on the same level as the adventure soundtracks, but it's damn close, and I'd be lying if I said I didn't loop any of these songs from time to time while I'm working. Sonic Generations doesn't have a ton of new music, but it remixes previous tracks to somehow sound better than their base versions. It may lose a point or two for originality, but since it features the definitive version of countless iconic Sonic songs, it belongs up in elite tier. Despite Sonic Lost World losing the focus on speed and gameplay, the music remains as up-tempo as ever, and feels more lighthearted and playful than most Sonic music. It doesn't have the personality I've come to expect, and feels very, almost Nintendo-like, and that's not a bad thing, it's just different, but it makes it feel a lot less bold and memorable, especially with the lack of a vocal theme, but it's still incredibly solid, and I go back to listen quite a bit. Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric falls short in just about every area, including the music. It's not horrendous, but nothing stands out in the slightest. Feels like very generic video game adventure music, which shouldn't surprise anyone considering how bad the soundtrack of the Sonic Boom cartoon is. We've got another worthless. Sonic Mania's music hits all the right notes of a retro game, while also feeling very new and imaginative in its own right. Compared to the classic Sonic trilogy, this might have the best music of the bunch. T. Lopes is an absolute menace when it comes to creating funky, fresh chiptune beats, and they let him go crazy here, so yeah, it's going elite. For as much as I hate Sonic Forces, the soundtrack is not a reason why. It sounds more digital and artificial than we're used to, but in the context of Eggman having taken over the world and his giant robots and cities dominating the planet, it makes sense. The situation is bleak, and the music reflects that while still having Sonic's trademark rock and roll feel and just a hint of optimism. And the vocal themes are dope. Fist Bump is a certified hood classic, and Infinite's theme is so ridiculously edgy that I can't help but kinda like it. It's a pretty average Sonic soundtrack all in all, so the mid-tier works well. People seem to love the soundtrack in Sonic Frontiers, and I think it's fine. It's very dynamic and has more emotional depth than probably any other Sonic OST, which works great within the game, but I haven't ever listened to anything outside of it. I come to these soundtracks for energy, excitement, and flavor, and this doesn't have much of that at all. Now, it's not fair to say that every Sonic game should go for that same feeling. I think it's nice to shake things up, but it loses that distinct Sonic feeling, and isn't memorable or catchy. It's still very good though. Sonic Superstars captures that classic feel like Mania does, but modernizes it in a really clean and playful way. Everything's very bouncy and high-spirited, which is right up my alley, and the only thing keeping it from elite is the lack of ambition. It kinda plays it safe and doesn't have as much attitude as the high tiers. Still, I find myself looping this all the time. The Shadow Generation side of this package does the same thing as the Sonic side, taking already stellar songs from the series and bringing them to all new heights, making room for one final elite tier. And there you have it.